All right, we're back with another episode of The Dump, and I'm really excited today. I've got special guest, Jye Kearney. Jye, how you going?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
All good. For those of you that don't know Jye has been snowboarding for almost 20 years. You know, he's been pursuing it as a career since he was 13 years old. He's now 28. He's a pro rider for Burton snowboards amongst a whole other fleet of brands. And he's traveled around the world filming video parts, gracing the pages of almost every magazine in existence. And he's kind of seen it all. You know, he's been traveling since the age of 13. So really excited to chat to Jye today. I know he's got a lot of stories and he really is an iconic Aussie snowboarder. So Jye, let's get into it.
Snowboards come down the slope and they're dangerous because they're just like a missile.
Sean White's there. If you helicopter in here, bang your mom and your girlfriend, and then set your board on fire.
Jye, how are you going?
I'm good, Richie. With all this snowfall around us so far, I've been having a good time. Heaps of good days, so I'm stoked.
So where are you based at the moment? You know, where do you call home?
Jindabyne's home.
Yep.
But I'm originally from Burleigh Heads on the Gold Coast.
Cool.
I grew up there till I was about 10 years old, and my dad did a snow trip with his buddies for a week, and then he pretty much came home and said, you know, he fell in love with Jindabyne, and he was like, let's pack up, let's get out of here. He fell in love with snowboarding. And
so the last few weeks have been pretty incredible up here. You've been putting some serious time on your snowboard. Where have you been riding?
Basically Thredbo.
Yeah.
It's the best place to ride on a powder day.
Yeah, sick.
And yeah, there's been so many good days this year. I feel bad for everyone in Sydney that can't make it down here, but
it's a bummer.
Yeah, but it's
insane to see the resort how it is with no one around.
Yeah, it's kind of like snowboarding in the 70s or something.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me of. Oh, I wasn't around in the 70s, but
how old are you?
That's what it feels like. You know, there's just no one around.
Yeah.
Like it's kind of eerie, but I'm just trying to make the most of it. I'm up here every day pretty much. So
sick. Well, you know, I'm really excited to chat today. We've had a rad fleet of guests so far, and I think, you know, I've been wanting to chat to you, and, you know, there's only a certain amount that I know about you, and I know that it's going to be a really great story. Like, your story is a great story for our listeners to tune into.
Yep.
You know, you've been snowboarding for almost 20 years. You're clocking 18 years under your belt, and, you know, you're 28 years old, and you're still professionally riding for Burton snowboards. Like, snowboarding right now is still your career, right?
It is, and I'm very grateful. So thank you, Burton and Colby and Xander, for making this happen. So
totally.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, before we get into the chat, we've got to do the honourable Hard Fizz.
Oh, okay.
A huge shout out to Hard Fizz for supporting us, and also Burton Snowboards.
Yeah.
For supporting the podcast. Cheers, Jye.
Cheers, Richie.
So, I mean, for all those people listening, Jye Kearney, you know, I know you said before you came from the Gold Coast. Have you spent your entire childhood in the Gold Coast?
Yeah, definitely, until I was about 10 years old. And then, going to school there, just doing the usual stuff like surfing and skating, what you do on the Gold Coast.
And you're an only child?
Only child. My parents are their high school sweethearts. My mum fell pregnant when she was 16, having when she was 17.
16?
Yeah. So...
and your mum is Lisa, and dad is
Simon.
Cool.
And they're cool as shit. They support me the whole way, and super, just young parents, and very grateful to have them.
And then, so you were saying, like, when did you come down to Jindabyne? Like, when did the snowboarding bug kick in? When did you go, okay, no more Gold Coast, it's snow time?
Well, I guess it wasn't really up to me. It was my dad. He came down here and did a week of snowboarding, and then came back from the holiday and was just fell in love with Jindabyne.
Yeah.
And kind of just didn't really want me to like grow up on the Gold Coast. He thought it was kind of a bad place, or not a bad place, but just not the best place. He just thought Jindabyne was a better place to bring me up as a kid and to get into snowboarding and stuff. So Yeah, as soon as he came back, he came here for a week and then came back, and then pretty much a few months later, they put their house up for rent, which is in Burleigh Heads.
Yep.
Got a place in Jindabyne, and we were living here ever since.
Ever since.
Yeah.
And what was your dad doing for work at the time?
On the Gold Coast, he was a fruit. He would deliver fruit. Like I remember him getting up real early to like 6 or earlier than that, like 4 a.m, and he'd be home by 10, just delivering fruit, just nothing special.
Yeah.
And then when he came to Jindabyne, he just got a cleaning job up at Thredbo actually, and he was just a cleaner. And then my mum worked in this gift shop called Monchichi's.
Monchichi's.
She was Monchichi's, and she was working like 7 days a week, which is pretty crazy. But yeah, that was their job.
Cool. And then when did you like, you moved to Jindabyne, you're 10 years old, like you were going to school here, obviously.
Yep, going to school.
And where did you start snowboarding?
Well, obviously my dad that's why we moved to Jindabyne, or a big reason, because he was into snowboarding, wanted me to get out of the Gold, wanted to bring me up in Jindabyne, just loved the place. Yeah. And I started going to school, and then every Thursday was a sports day.
Yep.
So I would come up to Thredbo and go snowboarding. And I guess that's where it all started, like just going to school, and then on the weekends, and then just kind of got into it from there.
Okay, cool. And then were you putting in any time at Perisher? Like, was Perisher a thing at that time, or was it mainly Thredbo?
Yeah, it was, but like it was kind of both. I got a pass for both, I think, back then, and it wasn't really like just one resort. I was kind of at the both.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
And I mean, as a young Jye Kearney doing the snowboarding for school sport, and you're kind of getting the bug for it, were there any guys that you were looking up to at that time that were riding Thredbo or Aussie snowboarders that you saw that you were like, fuck yeah, like I want to do that?
Yeah, definitely. Like, for sure, the Allen brothers.
Yep.
And like Tora.
Yep.
And Abby was snowboarding at the time too.
Abby
Wright,
Tora's sister.
Tora's
Yep.
sister. Yep. And she was winning like comps back when I was first started. Like, and Charles and Teeny, and that Digital Snowboard magazine was around, so that was a big influence on me. It was Digital Snowboard magazine, because you could buy them at the news agency.
Yeah.
So that was so I was just watching them, and they were the people that were on them.
And you were watching those as a grommet at the time?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I was 10 years old, so yeah, they were the only thing around, and I was just really into them.
And then, when was that moment when it clicked for you and it was like, cool, this is the only thing I want to do? Because like you've literally been a pro snowboarder since the age of 13?
Well, properly getting paid, I was about 16.
Okay.
But Burton had been supporting me since I was about 13 years old.
Yeah.
But I guess it would have started with the Digital Snowboard magazine, because in the bonus section of one of those DVDs was a camp that went to Snowpark, New Zealand.
What was that called?
It was called Holy Moly, and Russell Holt was the owner of it. And that was in,
I'm going to flush that.
And so watching that movie and saw the bonus section, they had a camp coming up in Snowpark, and it was like a month away. And I remember nagging my parents like, "Oh, Mum, I want to go to Snowpark, New Zealand. Look like the best place on earth." And it was like for 2 weeks, it was like $4,000 or something. I knew my parents didn't really have that, so
yeah,
I just kept nagging him, and finally my grandparents came through and they paid for it. So yeah, thanks to them.
Shout out to the grandparents.
Yeah. And first of all, my dad called up Holty to try get on the camp, but I was too young. I was like 12, and the age limit was 15.
Yep.
So I actually wasn't allowed on it. So I was pretty bummed when Holty said, "No, we can't take your son on the camp."
Yep.
And then like a week or so went on, and I was pretty bummed. And then we found out that one of our family friends was actually like the cook on the camp in New Zealand. So they, my dad like contacted him and was like, "Oh mate, I heard you're going on this camp. Like we want Jye to go. Is there any way?" We spoke to Russell, but he said he's a bit too young. Is there any way you can kind of like supervise for him? And then he's like, "This is Nick Collins."
No way.
Yeah. So he was like, yeah, of course. Like, so then Nick called Holt and was like, yeah, mate, this kid that wants to come, I've known him for a few years. Like, I know their parents. So then it kind of, it all changed, and I was going on this camp.
Because I guess you were a nobody back then,
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just a frothing kid.
Yeah,
so,
from Jindabyne, yeah.
Russell Holt didn't really know anything about me, thanks to Nick Collins for vouching for me to come on the camp.
Yeah, wow. Nick Collins. Got to shout out Nick Collins.
Yeah. And then I went on the camp and I met everyone that I was looking up to in Digital Sold magazine. Like Damon Haler was on there, and Nick Gregory and Russell Holt.
So they were like coaches
Yeah.
on the camp. So it was like a guest star camp kind of thing.
Yeah, they were
Sick.
the coaches. So that's why I really wanted to go, because I love snowboarding. I thought it was like the coolest shit out.
Yeah.
So got on the camp and then kind of just met everyone and like all the coaches and stuff. And then on the camp there was a prize for the best rider. The best rider would get a checkout in a magazine.
Yep.
So I heard about that, and I was only 11, and there was like the oldest guy on there was like 26. Like
On the camp?
Yeah. And I heard about that prize. I was like, so I was just trying to show off in front of all the coaches. And then, yeah. And then, I won the checkout.
Sick.
Yeah, I was pretty stoked. I got a little checkout in a magazine. And
With a photo from that trip?
From Snowpark. I was doing like a little board slide down this rail. And Jake McBride took the photo.
Oh, I was about to say, who shot it? Jake.
Yeah. McBride.
Sick.
McBride was on there, and he took the photo, and then it kind of just all started from there. Like Holty and stuff came back to Australia, and it got word out through Burton that there was this little kid that was kind of ripping.
Yep.
And I guess that's kind of where it all started. Was New Zealand when I went to Holy Moly snowboard camps.
Holy moly.
Mm.
Oh, man. I mean, I remember seeing those camps as a kid and wanting to go on those. And, I mean, that story in itself is such a cool... Those camps are so important,
Yeah.
It gets kids and riders, like in the door, or like it gets their foot in.
Yeah, definitely. For me, for example, it definitely...
And you're a competitive motherfucker. Like, you are, you don't like coming second. So if you had your eye on winning the checkout... Like, was that your mindset? Like, you were like, no one else is winning this. Like, this is mine.
Well, yeah, at the start of the camp, they kind of told us, they were like, look, we're all here to have fun. But at the end of it, one of you guys, the most progressive rider or something, is going to get a checkout in a magazine. So my eyes kind of lit up, and I'm like, this is my...
Let's go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, man. And, okay, so then, holy moly, you come back to Australia, and then when does the whole, like, okay... I've got a like, when was the first time you got sponsored? Like, when did that relationship form? Was Burton the first brand that you joined with?
Yep, definitely Burton.
Okay,
I would have been about 12.
Yep.
And it was after the camp. So the camp did finish in October or something. But the next winter when I was 13, yeah.
Yep.
It kind of, like I started talking to Colby and...
Paul Colby from Burton Snowboards.
Burton Snowboards, yep. And it all kind of just, started from there. Like, I don't think I was even getting free boards. I think I was getting like 50% or something.
Yeah, like wholesale or something.
Wholesale, which I was still stoked on, and still
Yeah.
helped my parents out helped my parents out heaps. But then, I guess it all just started from that camp. Yeah.
And then when did you start? Because I mean, like, I know that you were putting in a lot of time up at Front Valley as well. Like, that was kind of the stomping grounds for you. Like, was it like, were you still up at Treadwell, or was it a bit of both?
Well,
like, was Parish's Park even humming back then?
To be honest, I'm just trying to remember, but I don't think so, man.
Yeah.
No, not at all. It was just kind of, it was just all over the shop, kind of, really.
Okay.
Just, yeah.
And then, so 13, you're sponsored. You're still at school.
Still at school, yep.
And
JCS.
then in your mind, were you just like, cool, this is what I'm going to chase now?
Yeah, definitely. I just, like I said, I thought snowboarding was like the coolest shit ever. And then another big opportunity came up, actually. Colby was like, we want you to go to the US Open which is in Vermont, and I was only 13 years old.
No way.
Yeah, which is pretty cool. I knew I wasn't going to win or like,
Yeah.
I just wanted to go there for the experience. And
So when did you go there?
when I was 13,
Okay, so like this is just as you've got on Burton,
just as I've got on
post Holy
Burton,
Moly. Yep, cool.
there was a season went past or something.
Yep.
But yeah, I was just at school, and Colby was like, "Oh, we can pay for your flight to go to the US Open," which was in Vermont. So I was 13, and my dad, I wanted my dad to come, but it was just too expensive, like to travel by myself and forget him to come as like, to look after me. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do it by myself, like
At 13.
Yeah. And
What the hell?
yeah. So I flew from Sydney to LA, and then LA to, well, funny story here. I went from LA. I was supposed to go from LA to Burlington, Vermont, but my flight had been, whoever booked my flight, I don't know if it was Colby or my dad, or I don't know who to blame, but anyway, my flight didn't go to Burlington. I was like 500 k's away from where I was supposed to be.
Flew to the wrong place.
Flew to the wrong place. Like,
Oh my God.
so I landed in the airport, and the Burton dude from overseas was supposed to pick me up, but it was kind of like dark, and yeah, there was no one around. I was like, there's something really weird going on here. Had no phone. Like, the only way to contact my parents or anyone was Skype on my little MacBook.
Yeah.
So I remember going on my computer, and it was like they weren't awake. It was like 3 in the morning or something. I was like, what am I gonna do? So I walked over. I'm gonna have to stay here because I figured out I was in the wrong place. So I went over to those little like those phones where you can call up for the hotels. They've got all the hotels. You pick up the phone. And yeah. So I started like picking up them telling my situation, like, look, I'm.
Is this in the airport?
Yeah, this is in the airport in upstate New York, like the Massachusetts or something.
Oh my God.
500 k's away from where I was meant to be. And I was just like, look, I'm 13. I need a place to stay for the night. And some people on the phone were like, no, we don't accept, because I only had a debit card.
Yeah.
And yeah, I remember I was trying everyone, and finally one person said, oh my God, are you okay? Like, I'll get my husband to come pick you up now, because they owned a hotel. So he came with his little shuttle bus and picked me up, and I stayed there the night in somewhere in the Massachusetts. Woke up in the morning, finally figured out something, and I was so far away from where I was meant to be, and I was 13.
So at that point, did you know that you were in the wrong place, or you were just like, where's the guy picking me up?
No, I knew when I landed when there was no one there to pick me up.
Yeah.
And yeah, I kind of knew from that when I was trying to call the hotel that I was in the wrong spot. I was like, no, this isn't right. So I woke up in the morning, spoke to Colby, and the competition was the next day, and there was no flights. I couldn't get there. The only way I could get there was a taxi. So Colby had to pay like $1,000 Australian.
What?
Yeah, for a taxi ride to drive. I went from a taxi. I went all the way there in a taxi. It was like $1,000. So
you went from
like the Massachusetts
somewhere 500 kilometers away from Burlington, where the comp is.
Yeah.
And Colby paid for $1,000 taxi.
Yeah, and he. Yeah, thanks for that, Colby.
Yeah.
And he got me to Stratton, Vermont, where I was meant to be. So I made it. And
how'd you go? You must have been pretty rattled.
Yeah, I was, but I was just so excited to get the week off school.
Yeah.
And just be there. I was just kind of like taking it all in. Like, I definitely appreciated stuff back then more than I do now.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, it was a good time, and I was just kind of just like in for the ride. And
were there any guys at that comp that are like big names now? Like, were there?
In the slopestyle, I can't really remember, but I remember seeing Shaun White for the first time.
Yeah,
that was sick. He was there riding the half pipe.
Did you have stars in your eyes? Were you a Shaun White fan?
Yeah, I definitely was. The White album and
all
that stuff. But I finally made it to Stratton, Vermont. And I was staying at Australian Burton House where like Mikey Williams, he used to ride for Forum.
Yep.
And this guy Ryan Nugget Gardner who made Digital Snowboard magazine. So I was like kind of I knew it was him, so I was kind of starstruck too. I was like, oh, that's the guy that
does the videos.
Like put it all together. And did the comp. I was supposed to I was only supposed to be over there for a week, but then Ryan Gardner actually said, "Oh, what are you up to after this comp?" And I'm like, "Oh, I've got to go back to school." Like, and he's like, "Nah, I'm going to Tahoe. Do you want to come film? Because he kind of heard about me through the grapevine. He kind of knew who I was.
And you did the camp, which
he was
the
on
digital snowboard thing that he was on.
Yeah, I met him there. So he was like, "Nah, fuck that. I'm going to Tahoe. I got to finish this movie. Do you want to come?" And I was like, "Yeah." I got to ask my parents that. I remember getting on Skype, going, "Mum, I can go film with this guy. Like, he's going to Tahoe." And I remember bringing Nug over, going, "Come." Nug had a big beard and shit. And I was like,
"This is who you have to, trust your child with."
Yeah. And they had a little talk on Skype and got my flights changed and stuff. And next minute I was going to Tahoe to film. Yeah.
So who were you filming with?
So me and Nug flew from Burlington to Tahoe, and I was filming with Ryan Teeney.
Yep. Wow.
Charles Beckinsale.
Yep.
And Gus St. Leon.
Wow.
Yeah. So I got chucked into it, like
straight away,
and yeah.
And then it kind of just took off from there, right?
Yeah. I filmed that part.
And so that was a part in Digital Snowboard Bag?
Yep. I was.
So did you have a proper part?
Yeah. I had about 7 shots or something though.
Yep.
So I definitely had a part in the movie.
And what were you filming on? Were you in the streets or were you in the backcountry? Like
we're in the streets and the backcountry.
Really?
In Tahoe, yeah. And I was 13 years old, no beacon, no nothing. Like, man, I was
doing it rogue.
Yeah, doing it rogue. And so was Teeny. He was only 18 years old at the time too. He wasn't getting paid that good. Yeah.
And had you hit a street rail before or hit a jump in the backcountry?
No street rail. That was my first straight rail. Was on that trip.
Popping cherries left, right, center.
Yeah, and I remember it like it was yesterday. It was just down, flat down, and
It's in the schoolyard in Tahoe.
Yeah, can you remember it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
And you're wearing the green jacket.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I did a little fitty front one off the gap. That was my first handrail, and we had about 2 weeks to film. And then we went up to Mammoth, me, Teeny, and Ryan, and did some filming up there. It was pretty good.
So you must have lost. I mean, like to take off. It was supposed to be 1 week off school, but it sounds like you almost took off about a month.
Yeah, about 3 weeks all up.
And then, you've come back, and then I know that you kind of left school at a young age. When did you stop going to school?
Well, so I did the filming. I went to Mammoth. I came back to Australia, and I had my 14th birthday over there. So I was 14, and then Nug, he was doing the season in New Zealand, and he was like, "Oh, come over to New Zealand and ride snowpark again." He had a place over there. So I told mum and dad, told them that. And like, who is this guy? Why does he
want to hang out with you so much?
He's like 32 or something. But Nug, man, yeah, Nug was the best. He was like, he definitely was a big inspiration to me. And anyway, so I went to New Zealand to ride snowpark and stayed at Nug's house for like 2 weeks. And that's where I met Benny Bright. He was like another big influence on me and helped me out a lot through my career, and pretty much got me my first paycheck, got me like an agent. And
Benny?
Yeah, he was...
So he took you under his wing when you went over to New Zealand?
Yeah, when I went over to New Zealand, I met him, and Nug had told Benny about me, and they both kind of like just really like just loved, like I was there like their kid, their son.
Yeah.
Like,
but you were kind of a man-child, right? Like,
yeah,
you're not your typical 13-year-old. I know I've heard people say that you look like you were fucking 18.
Yeah, I've been the same height, same shoe size since I was 13, which I'm 5'11", 9-foot shoe. Ever since I was 13, I haven't changed.
That's crazy. All right, so you're in New Zealand. Benny Bright is taking you under his wing. What's next?
Well, yeah, he kind of just like kind of made it all happen for me. So I was sponsored by Burton, but I obviously wasn't getting paid or anything. I was just getting free stuff.
Yeah.
And then when I went over with him, he kind of said, "Oh, let's make an edit. Like, let's make an edit with you while you're over here." Like, so we made this edit, and still to this day, I don't know why he did this for me, but obviously, I really appreciate it. But he just kind of wanted everything to kind of happen for me. He kind of knew where I came from and knew my parents didn't have too much money and stuff. So we kind of made this edit in New Zealand, and I did like this double backside rodeo and stuff, which was in this edit. And he was kind of just like sending it out to like, he kind of took management of me when I was really young and kind of, made it all happen. And kudos to Benny. Thanks heaps.
Yeah, wow. That's I mean, it is a special thing. I mean, a lot of the chats we've had with the different writers on here, it's like there is that one person that normally takes, or two, Nug and Benny, that take you under their wing, and it's like without, you need support.
Yeah.
You can't do it by yourself, especially when you're 13 years old, 13 to 16, I would say, rolling solo.
Yeah.
It's so critical to have, that support network.
Yeah, definitely. And I couldn't have done it without them, and I wouldn't be sitting in this chair right now if it wasn't for them. Because, like I said, Benny pretty much he got me paid.
Yeah.
He got me an agent.
Yeah.
He did everything, and he was like paying for my stuff, and I wouldn't even like for flights and stuff overseas. Like, because I traveled with him the year after around America because he was coaching Scotty James at the time.
Yep.
And
are you and Scotty the same age, or is he younger?
He's a year younger.
Okay.
But me and Scotty are real close, real tight, and we grew up doing the exact same thing. Like, yeah. So I traveled with Scotty, Tora, and Benny for a few months, and Benny was just paying for my things. He knew that my parents didn't have money, so I was just like, but he was trying to get me paid to snowboard. Like, he was trying to help me out so much.
Yeah.
And it worked.
So who did you get your first paycheck from?
From Burton.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, I don't know, like I kind of want to dive into like you say the double backside rodeo. I think I remember that you had a Burton Unic board.
Yep.
With the P.
You're good, Richie. You're good.
And it was an MGMT song.
Yes.
That played,
yes.
and you were wearing a mouth guard.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I was 14, first person to do like double backside rodeo.
I remember that. Like,
in Australian, I mean, not first person,
because
first Australian.
I remember like, as a kid, and I remember the industry as a whole was kind of like, holy fuck, like the double backside rodeo thing off that booter was insane.
Yeah, even the jump was huge. The jump
was monster.
I think I went like 120 feet.
Yeah, like you don't see the jumps up here anymore like that.
No, there's no way in the world I'd do that right now.
Where's that? Was that at Snow Park, or was that?
That was at Cadrona.
Cadrona.
When it was closed.
No way you'd do that now?
Nah. No.
And then, so you came back, and then when did because I know in the Aussie scene you started competing and you just got on a freaking tear.
Yeah, I definitely took advantage of it. I knew I was kind of like, I don't mean him like this. Yeah, I was kind of like the best kid coming up.
Totally.
Yeah.
Don't hold back.
Yeah. And I just took advantage of it and was just doing every comp and just trying to save my pennies and
So what were the comps going on at that time?
Well, when I was a lot of comps like Star Wars, the Boost Mobile Snow Show, the Mountain Dew Hut Jam. There was a lot more money and competitions back in snowboarding back then than there is now.
Yeah, I mean, that's something I really wanted to talk about because, man, I remember the Boost Snow Show, for example. You didn't win that, did you?
No, I didn't win it, but I went pretty good in it one year. There was 6 to qualify for the final, which was the wheel.
Spin the wheel on the jump.
Yeah. And I remember I qualified for that one year, which was pretty cool. Sick. I was 15.
And what kind of prize money were we talking? When you're 15, 16 years old, what were you making?
When I was 15, 16, I was making a little bit of money, not too much in the competitions. It was more I had this when I was 18, I had this real sick run of the whole season. I like won everything.
I've heard about them.
Yeah.
This season.
And still, I think it was like the biggest prize pool in Australian snowboarding ever. Like
in that particular year
no, ever like.
that you won.
Oh yeah, that I won. Sorry.
Yeah. But like all the comps collectively, that was the biggest amount of money ever in Australian snowboarding for a season. Yeah.
Like there was like 40 grand to be won.
And you won it all.
I won it all.
No way.
Yeah.
Okay, so what are we talking? We're talking Star Wars.
Star Wars. That was like, we talking how much I made or?
Well, I'm talking
Oh,
all
okay.
the comps collectively as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
What were they?
Yeah, Star Wars, the Mountain Dew Hut Jam.
Yeah, which was the dual rider thing,
The
right?
dual rider thing.
Where teams had to submit 2 riders.
2 riders, yep.
And you guys had to compete together like synonymous, like in sync down a course.
Yeah, exactly.
So
which is pretty cool.
Who'd you win that with?
I won that with my good old friend Chris DeCampo.
Yeah, DeCampo.
And yeah, we won 10 grand, so 5 grand each.
No way.
But then I won another 5 grand for being like the best standout.
Standout rider.
It was like this Gatorade thing.
Yep.
So I'd won 10 grand in like in less than an hour, and I'm 18 years old, and I got just won 10 grand. So I was pretty stoked.
How much went on the bar that night?
Probably a little bit.
Okay, so Star Wars, the Jew battle,
Yeah.
or whatever
And
it is,
Cattleman's
and-
actually, that was the first year I won Cattleman's was when I was 18.
Yep.
I'd been doing that since I was about 14, and then I finally won it when I was 18.
which is the Burton event up at Mount Buller.
Mount Buller, yeah.
For those listening, and it's a rail jam. It's a rail jam on what's it called? Is that like, why is it called Cattleman's? Is that like
Because of the bar. It's one of the most iconic rail jams in Australia.
I think it's I think it's the longest running event in Australian snowboarding history.
Yeah.
I think it's in its, I'm going to get this wrong. I think it might be in its 14th year.
Yeah.
How many years have you competed in it?
Well, my first one was when I was 14, so I'm 28. So you do the math. What's that?
Oh, don't look at me. All right, you're 28. I'm on the roll here. I think you told me you've done it 10 times.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
And how many times have you won it?
I've won it 6.
You've won it 6 times.
6 times, yeah.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Okay, so Cattleman's, and then what was the other event for that 18-year-old run?
It all started at Cattleman's, and 4 grand, and then the Do Hut battle, and then Star Wars. But saying this, I was winning all this competition money, but Burton were also like pretty much, I was getting a lot of money from winning these comps too. So they weren't matching it
Why was that?
because it was in my contract. It was like,
So what, if you win a comp, they would pay you a certain amount of money
yeah,
because it's an incentive to win.
yeah, exactly. Which they probably.
So if you won 10 grand at the Jew battle, what were you getting from Burton?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know if I can. A bit of money.
Okay,
Like,
cool.
no, they weren't matching it, but I was getting it. I was getting a bit of money.
Pretty
like-
close to matching.
Yeah.
Cool. Does that still happen?
Unfortunately, it doesn't. But yeah, like for example, back then I was snowboarding. I was making a bit more money than I am now.
Yeah.
But that's just what's happening with the world right now. And
Do you reckon Burton were like, fuck, man, this kid's going to win everything. We can't have this in his contract?
yeah, probably.
And they took it out?
No, they didn't take it out. It definitely dropped. I remember the next year it had dropped a little bit.
80 to 20%.
Yeah. It definitely had dropped. But yeah, man, they were the heydays, and I'm glad to be a part of it, and I was glad to.
Where did you find that? I mean, like it's just so obvious when you're out riding with yourself, and from the background, seeing you in that competitive element, where we're on the road and competing at Star Wars or Cattleman's or those events. It's like you get in a pretty freaking weird competitive zone. Like I remember seeing you sometimes like fully throwing up before a comp and
Yeah.
like punching yourself in the head and amping yourself up. Like, where did that competitive nature come from? Or like, do you want to give me a little bit of insight into that? Like, because you definitely just zone that. Like, you are not Jye Kearney. You are another another person when it comes to comp time?
Yeah, to be honest, I think it's from it. Well, my fight in me was just from my parents being so young and like not having the most money in the world, and they were working so much. So I always wanted to like make it easier for them, and kind of I did it all like for them. Like it was all it all just like I just had like this fire in me. Like I just didn't want to let my parents down.
Okay,
kind
cool.
of thing. And I just kind of would switch on, and yeah.
Do you still switch on?
Yeah, I definitely do. It's easy for me to switch. I it's still there, and like I did a comp at Thredbo the other day. I just do that because, I like competing, and I also like competing a little bit, but not too much anymore. But I did this rail jam at Thredbo the other day, but it's just easy for me to just to switch on, and I like that. It's like this anxiety. Like I don't like anxiety, but it's this kind of like fire in my stomach, and I like to know if I can still do it.
Yeah, you're living on like some weird kind of adrenaline rush.
Yeah, exactly.
I remember seeing snippets of like, people were trying to tell you something in the comp, like, hey man, it's over or whatever, and you're just like, it's like you're just like peaking, like you're just so in the zone. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, sick. So then, I mean, we're talking about the comp side of things. Like, I know that you've spent a long time. Like, I want to hear about your first street trip, like that trip you did to New York with McBride.
Mm-hmm.
Like, when did you start hitting magazines? And I mean, like, I think there's two different ways. I mean, from my perspective, it's like you go to the Olympics,
mm-hmm.
and that seems to be so many people's choice these days. Like, a lot of riders are like, cool, we're going to the Olympics and we're doing the competitive circuit. We're training, we're doing that. But, like, you kind of took that other route, which is you were still competing, but you weren't going overseas and doing those huge X Games competitions and the slopestyle thing. What made you think, I want to shoot photos, get covers, film video parts? Like, what was that deciding factor?
Well, I definitely still wanted to do the Olympics and do all those comps, but it's just so much money, man. Like, to be a snowboarder, and if you're not getting support, you gotta have rich parents, or like it's a money sport. Rich
parents or some serious backing.
Which I'm not saying Burton didn't back me, but it was more expensive to travel to do competitions than it was to go like hang out in Tahoe for a month and just film some street rails.
So do you think it was purely in your mind, you were like, I don't have enough money to chase that Olympic route. I've got to make something out of this in another way?
Yes and no. Like I kind of did like filming more, but I also I always had that competitive side in me. So I knew it would go good, but I just, kind of just had to like sit back, and I loved filming and making video parts. So I kind of just said, this is kind of my thing. I should just do this. Like, it's way less stressful. And I remember when I was getting into the competitions, I was getting kind of burnt out.
Yep.
And I remember Benny Bright was saying, yeah, man, I reckon you should just stick to, filming video parts and just, I think it's for you.
Okay,
so
cool.
I was like, oh yeah, I probably should.
Does it piss you off at all that you never had a crack at that competitive Olympic side of things?
It does. Well, kind of, but like the people that were around it at the time, I remember would just turn me off like the biggest dickheads. Like the Australian, whatever, winner. The
Australian Winter Olympic Institute of institutes, and
they were just so like, just so shit at doing things. So it kind of turned me off.
Yeah.
And that was like when I was like, oh, if you're turning me off, I'm kind of getting turned off snowboarding.
Yep.
So I didn't want to get turned off snowboarding. So I remember I got offered to go film a video part when I was 17, which was Made You Look like a this other.
That was what was that? Like Reason Films, I think it was.
Yeah, this guy Ben Ryan from New Zealand was making a movie. So I was like, I'm just gonna go film a video part in Tahoe, and bought a sled. Well, for my grandparents again, they bought me a $2,000 sled.
Go the grandparents.
Yeah, I know. Like, wouldn't be able to do it without them or anyone. So, but so I just decided to take the filming route, and it kind of worked out. And I'm stoked where I am today. Like, I don't have a medal or anything, but it's all good. I'm still having fun. I love snowboarding. So.
Yeah, no, kudos to that.
Yeah.
So going back to Made You Look, you know, I think that was kind of your breakthrough video part, right? Like it was the Southern Hemisphere crew, but I know that you were filming with a pretty heavy crew. Who was on that?
It was like Charles Beckinsale and Mikey Williams, and who else was on there? I think like Nick Brown or something. And these guys are all so much older than me. And yeah, we're just in Tahoe and we bought some sleds and we're just trying to just do what we could.
Was it hard? Did you find it hard, the whole sledding introduction to the backcountry thing?
Yeah, I did. It was pretty scary. Like to ride a sled, I know. Yeah, it's hard to ride a sled.
Yeah.
You got to have some manpower, and after big days, your body's sore. And I was just 16-year-old kid, skinny as, just trying to muscle a sled around the backcountry, and none of us had any experience except for Charles, I think. But
fuck, that would have been a shit show.
Yeah. I remember Charles.
Did you at least have a beacon by this point?
Yeah, I had a beacon by then. Maybe no pro, but a beacon.
A beacon, a shovel.
Yeah.
2 out of 3, that's good enough.
But that was definitely my highlight and kind of breakthrough of like what I wanted to do.
Because I know I want to talk about the ender on that video part.
Yep.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That was the first ever double cork done by an Australian rider.
Yep, correct.
And you filmed it on a backcountry jump.
Yep. And
you want to give me a little bit of insight around that day? And I know that there was someone really cool there.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah. That day.
And how old were you before you?
Well, it's funny. I was 16, and it was just a few days before my birthday. So I was still 16.
But turning 17.
Yeah.
Yep.
And we're a bunch of Aussies in New Zealand. There was this spot in Tahoe, or in the middle of Tahoe and Mammoth. It's called Sonora Pass. It's really famous for people like to go film movies, and there's jumps all out there and stuff. And we went out there and we saw this jump, and I knew that Clint Allen was trying to do the double cork, the famous backside 1080 double cork, but he hadn't landed it or something, and I really wanted to do it.
Was Clint filming for this video?
Yeah, he was filming in the same area. Like
in Sonora?
Yeah, we saw him that day, and I remember going, "Have you got it yet?" And he's like, "Nah, ragdolled the other day or whatever."
Yep.
So I knew he hadn't got it yet, and then we sled it out, and we found this perfect jump. And I was like, this is it. This is the time. And then did like a back 7, and then, tried the back 10 like a few times. Oh, no. Yeah. I think I got it like 10th go or whatever. But I remember like a few crashes before, Torstein Hogmo was out there filming of Standard. And he was sitting over on his sled, like not far away. And I didn't really know him. And he was just watching what was going down. Yeah. And then I remember I landed it. And I rode out, and I was so happy. I remember just yelling like it was like the best feeling ever. I just, And then he slid it over to me, and I thought he was, going to give me props or whatever. And he's like, "Yo, you don't ask around here much, do you?" And I'm like, "What?" And he's like, "You don't ask around here much." I'm like, "What do you mean?" He's like, "I did that trick on there like 2 weeks ago. You can't be going and doing that." And I was like, "Oh, sorry." Like, yeah. And in the sequence of in the magazine of Transfer, you can see Torstein in the sled just like stand up and just like to see if I landed it.
So you fucking shut down Torstein.
Yeah. And he was I was only 16. He was however old he was, but he wasn't stoked, and I was just like whatever. And this guy from New Zealand, Rob Mitchell, he's
yeah.
I
remember Rob.
Yeah, he's like this kind of big guy, and Torstein was kind of giving me shit, and Rob was like, "Fuck off, Torstein. Go wipe your money with your tears." Just some shit, like told him to piss off. And that was definitely a massive moment in my career.
Yeah, I mean, did you get the ender part?
The opening part.
You got the opening part.
Yeah, yeah.
Sick.
And I wasn't even allowed in the pub yet. I remember they had the premiere at the Banjo, and I wasn't even 18 yet, so I couldn't even go.
And mate, going back to, you were talking about trying to one up Clint Allen on the double cork.
Mm-hmm.
I know that you and Clint have had a little bit of a rough history. You want to tell me about that particular moment?
Well, he's kind of been there since the start of my career, like since I was 13, and he's kind of only been the only guy to ever kind of give me grommy abuse.
Do you reckon that was a good thing in the long run?
Yeah, kind of. It definitely fed my fire, but it was kind of annoying. Like,
all right, let's get into this grommy abuse. What kind of grommy abuse was Clint giving you?
Just kind of like, well, this is kind of not. Well, it's, for example, when I was filming of Digital Snowboard magazine when I was 14 and did that trip to Tahoe. Yeah. Me, Teeny, and Nug were going to Mammoth to film, and Clint was living in this house of like some other skiers, or I don't know, but he didn't let me and Teeny stay in the house. He only let Nug stay in the house because he was the filmer. So me and Teeny had to go buy these sleeping bags, and we slept in a car, this little car, the passenger seat just folded down for like 4 nights because Clint obviously had some rivalry of Teeny too, because he was like the same age. And
yeah, you're all fucking competitive young adults.
Yeah.
Not wanting each one to get to the top.
Exactly. So yeah, me and Teeny just slept in this car for like 3 nights outside Clint's house where Nug was in. And yeah, it was kind of each to their own, but like I like Clint. We're friends now.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just what happened, yeah. But one time he pissed me off so much that I freaking slapped him in the head. It was down in Mount Hotham, and Alex Chumpy Pullen was there actually. He was the one that pulled Clint away from me because
Clint broke it up.
Yeah. But he was just giving me so much shit that I just couldn't handle it. I was just like, fuck you, man, shut up. And this just hit him in the face, which, I was only 16, 17, but
mate, those things happen.
Yeah.
You guys are best friends now, right?
Yeah, we talk. I've known the guy for a long time, and the whole family, his mum and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And you were saying, he was quite an inspiration for you as a grommet.
Yeah.
So I could only imagine when, your inspiration is giving you abuse, which probably turned out to be maybe a good thing, kind of stood up for yourself in some way.
Yeah, definitely, I guess. And yeah, we're still friends now, so it's all good.
I feel like some of the writers at the moment, it's like you say one bad thing to them and they just break down and cry.
Yeah, totally.
So no, I think that Aussie grit, I mean, you've been doing it weird and tough since you were 13, traveling overseas by yourself. Yep. So yeah, that grit comes out. So when did you pull out of school? Because I know that you didn't finish school.
Nah. Yeah, funny story of that. I finished in year 8, and then I started doing homeschool for a little bit.
How old are you in year 8?
I was 14. Yeah. Yeah. So I pulled out of school, did some homeschool for a bit, but that didn't last long. That was just kind of out the window. But yeah.
And you never went back?
Never went back.
So you never did the year 10?
No, never finished year 10. Hopefully there's no school reporters listening to this. My parents get in trouble. But I turned out pretty good.
Mate, I mean, like, let's talk about, I mean, for a kid that pulled out of school in year 8 and just chased snowboarding, and you were talking about, you had that desire when you were competing, you owed it to your parents, and you owed it to yourself. You needed to survive, right? Like that, you've got that survival instinct when you're competing, and, like you managed, how old were you when you got to, you bought a freaking house?
Yeah, well, that came from that year that I was, that we were talking about with the money that I won. The
when
year
you were 18?
When I was 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had got to the end of the season. I had, I had about 37 grand as an 18-year-old.
Yeah.
So 37 grand as an 18-year-old is, pretty much like having $500,000 now.
Totally.
That's what I felt like.
Totally. I mean, that's back in the day, right? How old were you? What year was it when you were 18?
It was 2011.
Okay, cool.
And had that cash in my bank account, and I just wanted to buy a car. I wanted an Audi A4. I don't know why. It's just like, so glad I didn't buy one. So glad Mum was like, you should try get it, put it to something smarter.
No, Mum, I want an Audi.
Yeah. And she was kind of like, because she had bought a house when she was 18 too, and up on the Gold Coast.
Yep.
Which is she got it for dirt cheap, and now it's worth a bit of money.
Yep.
So I kind of wanted to follow in her footsteps.
Yep.
And
the wise mum.
Yeah. And kind of had this cash, and my mum was like, go to the bank, try get a loan or whatever. Like, I was like, there's no way I'm going to get a loan for, a few $100,000. But tried. Very thankful for Burton and Colby for obviously crossing the line for me to get that loan for the house.
So with your Burton Snowboards contract.
Yeah, I had the deposit, and then they obviously to get a loan you need to have an income and stuff. So all that was a go, and I bought my first place when I was 18.
Far out.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool story, man.
Yeah.
I mean, to going from not having much as a 13-year-old and having the likes of Benny Bright and Nug take you under their wing, to being able to buy a house when you're 18 years old. You were telling me in total with all the event money you had, I mean, I've seen those novelty checks, dude. Like they go up to, I'm 6'4", they go up to my waist.
Yeah.
You've got about $100,000 there, right? From comp money?
Yeah, I all added up, I have just over $100,000. Yeah.
Wow, just from competing.
Just from ever since I was, when I won my first check when I was like 14, I've just gathered them all up. We should do a little photo shoot on them one time.
Should we?
Yeah.
Or maybe we can get a photo and we can put it up.
Yeah.
You still got them all?
Still got them all. I'll never. I can't wait. Like my house that I have now that I bought, I rented out for another income.
Yep.
But when I get my bigger house, it's gonna be. I can't wait just to put them up everywhere. And
big Jye Kearney trophy room.
Yeah. I can't wait.
Will Clint make it on the wall?
He can come over and have a look one time.
You can have a novelty check off.
Yeah.
It'd be quite funny. Cool. And then, nowadays, Jye Kearney, I mean, like, what are you doing? Like, I guess you went from traveling, competing, filming, magazines. I mean, you've gotten that many covers on magazines in Australia and New Zealand. And I know that Pat Bridges has always been a big fan of yours, and you've had features in Snowboarder Mag. You've filmed video parts with Method Mag as well. Like you've been on this roll, and you're still filming video parts and you're still getting out there. But like, where's your mindset at now? Like you're 28 years old. What's Jye Kearney thinking? Like in terms of snowboarding career life?
Well, I guess age is just a number.
Yeah.
So I just kind of want to do it as long as I can. And I still love snowboarding just as much as I do now as when I was 13.
Yep.
So as long as I can do it until those kind of, I stop getting paid and stuff, I'll keep doing it. And I love it and I'm very grateful. But
will you do it even if you're not getting paid anymore?
Oh, yeah. I still would, yes.
Yeah.
So snowboarding's, my income. So as lame as that sounds, it's just...
It's not lame, dude. I'm very jealous. Just punch away at a keyboard all day.
I'm just very grateful for where I am now and what I've achieved.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I'm going anywhere anytime soon.
You're a bit of a property tycoon these days, right? Like you got the hustle on, your investment property as well.
Yeah, I have my place that I bought when I was 18. I have it on Airbnb now. So that's another source of income.
Super host.
I am a super host. If you want to stay at my place, just DM me.
Got to milk it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then, you know, you're up, like, I know recently, you know, you've had, you kind of things have turned a little bit in terms of like, I don't know, man, like you're one of the older guys in the industry now, for sure. You know, you're 28. I know 28 is still so young, but there's grommets like Valentino, who's, God, how old is he? 16. You know, there's all those young kids that obviously have looked up to you. And I mean, you're doing some cool stuff now. Like, you've got your own rail jam, right?
Yeah, I do my rail jam at Threadboat. It's called Jye's Jam.
Yep.
It's good for the kids, good for the next up and comers. So.
Yeah, it's sick because I think like there are so many comps that are just so boring, you know. And you know the comp, where is it held?
It has been held the last 4 years on Friday Flat, down flat down, which a lot of people have hit. Ever since I was growing up, I would, you know, remember Charles trying to front board through it. That was like the big thing. So it's pretty cool and surreal to feel that I have a rail jam on that stair set now. So it's pretty cool.
Are you still gonna? I know you competed in it once, but then you kind of took a back seat. Do you reckon you can still hit it?
Yeah, I can still hit it.
Yeah, cool. I think the rail jam thing is rad, and you're keeping that alive. And then, you know, obviously COVID has had a bit of an impact on you. Like, you haven't been able to travel overseas. I know you were filming a video when it first hit. You were filming a video part. What was that for?
That was for Scurvy, a Burton project.
Yeah.
And everything was going cool. And then around March 17th, we went out and built this massive jump. Like me, Carlos, JJ, and Troy, and then went sledded home that day, and we're gonna go hit it the next day. And it was like, no, you're going home. Your travel insurance company's not going to cover you if you get sick over there.
Borders are shutting.
Borders
right?
are shutting.
Yeah.
So like we had built these jumps ready to go hit the next day, and then you're going back to Australia. So every single one of us flew back home. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
And then how was, I guess, you know, that was probably the last time that you've been overseas snowboarding. Like, you missed out on that whole Northern Hemi winter just gone, right?
Yeah. It was weird. That was the first time I've spent at home since I've gone overseas. 13, yeah.
Did you enjoy it? A bit of a time off?
Yeah, I did. I bought a jet ski and I was just hooning around the lake.
Fucking Kenny Powers.
But no, yeah, I did miss it, and you know, hopefully I'll be able to get the opportunity to go over and do all that again. Because
yeah, like, I guess in your mind, do you still think that you have things to prove?
Yeah, definitely. I still to this day, sitting here right now, I've never watched one of my video parts and gone and been satisfied with it.
Yep.
Like I've never done the job that I've wanted to do. So
You still want to get it done?
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've still never been happy with any of the video parts that I've done. Yeah.
Fuck. Well, I'm excited to see what, you know, there's still fire in the belly.
Yeah.
And and kind of what you can do.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you've seen it all. Like, you've been in the industry for almost 20 years. Things have changed a lot in that 20 years, you know? What's your thought on the Aussie snowboard industry and the riders these days compared to when you started and grew up and you looked up to those guys like Charles, Teeny, Gus, Nug? Like, there's been a crazy shift. What's your take on it all? Because I guess you've seen it all.
Yeah, definitely have. It's, I don't know, I don't want to say it's sad,
Yeah.
but it's kind of like a bit, you know, it's like this weird like kind of plateau thing. Like, I don't know, it's just, everyone's just kind of, I don't want to keep talking about money, but there's not as much money in snowboarding as there was back then.
Do you think the scene has changed? You know, like, and when I say the scene, I'm talking about that really core snowboarding scene that, you know, made me and you both go, yeah, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to dedicate my life to. Like, do you think, like, what's it like? I haven't been over at Front Valley at all this season. Like, what's it like? Give it to me.
Well, I'll tell you, I'm very grateful to grow up back then than I would be to grow up as a
Now.
kid now.
Do you reckon you would have no chance with the money factor?
Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
No way. I definitely got the last bit of the
Glory days.
The glory days. And now it's just it's kind of all over the shop. Like
Yep.
there's a lot of different like scenes going up at Perisher. Like, you know, there's a lot of soccer dads on the knuckle, and, which is cool. Like, well, you know, but yeah, it's just not as core as it used to be.
Yeah,
It's just,
totally.
It's it's not as cool.
You got kids trying to train for the Olympics.
Yeah.
You've got, excuse me, sorry. You've got kids trying to train for the Olympics. You've got some guy that's just came out of salvos doing front blunts, you know,
Yeah.
on a kink rail. The rail riding is mind blowing up at Perisher. What happens when they start building up those big booters though?
Yeah, I guess like all those kids that are riding those rails, doing those tricks, you know, it's really cool. And I appreciate everything. Like,
Yep.
you know, Josh Vane and
Yep.
and Andy, I forgot his last
Andy James.
Andy James. Like, I obviously respect everything they do, but I just feel like, yeah, it's just all about the Front Valley Park. Like, there's a lot more outside
To
of
it.
To it, yeah. There's a lot more to snowboarding than just being a park rider.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what I kind of like do of myself, is I kind of want to just be that. I don't want to just be known as this park rail rider. I kind of want to, you know, like, for example, I just got a splitboard. I go splitboarding all the time, and just kind of just do as much as I can with my snowboard, besides being in the park. And
Well, that actually segues really well into the guest questions. I actually reached out to a few guys that I know that have been quite a big influence throughout your career. And I also know that Benny Bright would love to hear I'm not just a park resort rider.
yeah.
But the first one is from Rich Hegarty. So for those that don't know Rich, we actually had him on our second episode of The Dump, where we talked about the state of Australia, New Zealand snowboarding. And Rich he used to sit on the board of FIS. He's been involved in developing a lot of the major competitions. He created Star Wars, which is an event that you won and probably took a lot of money out of Rich's pocket.
Yeah, thank you.
From. And Rich said, you know, you're one of the last course snowboarders left in Australia. Why do you feel there are so few real snowboarders left? And by real snowboarders, he means riders who can ride everything.
Well, thanks, Rich. But yeah, I don't know. I just the kids up there, like, I don't want to be bagging anyone or anything, but they just don't have the right mindset kind of thing. Like, they're just park.
Yeah.
Like, there's just so much more to snowboarding than riding the Front Valley Park. And yeah, I don't think it's their fault. It's just kind of what's around the last few, like what they've been looking up to the last couple of years.
Yeah,
It's
totally.
Just totally is this Olympics and just slopestyle riding, and you know, I just feel like, yeah, there's a lot more to.
There's definitely a lot of limelight on being successful and being a slopestyle rider and an Olympic rider. And then if you're not doing that, it's like you're a rail rider. You know, like, I feel like everyone has a definition put to their name.
Yeah, for sure.
Whereas like when someone thinks about you, it's like he's a snowboarder because you can put it down in the backcountry, you can ride the streets, you can ride the park with your eyes closed. And, you know, now because you love snowboarding, you're kind of getting into splitboarding and you're exploring other avenues.
Yeah, I don't know if that's because I'm getting older but I'm more grateful for just things that you can do on your snowboard. Like, even racing. Like, I love racing.
Well, fuck. You've won the top to bottom at Threadboat?
Yep.
And you beat Jared Hughes?
Yep.
And Jared Hughes is a silver Olympic medalist.
Yeah, that's a good claim to fame.
There you go.
But yeah, I just like to be. I don't want to be known as the rail rider. I just kind of want to just be able to snowboard and do everything I can.
Valentino is pretty similar, I reckon.
Valentino's he's fucking sick. Like,
yeah.
I've watched that kid since he's been coming to Parachute since he was 10, and he's probably the one at the moment that's got his head on his shoulders right, and he is definitely like one of the best snowboarders in the world.
Yeah, like he is kind of doing it all.
Yeah, he definitely is, and I've actually spoken to Val's dad and kind of told him what to. I don't want to take claim for telling him, but I've told Rick, you should get Val, not just doing pipe, doing it all. And,
Yeah.
And look how he's turned out. So.
Mate, I actually take back saying that. Oh, maybe Rich Hegarty can pull me up on this, but I don't know if you can actually ride a pipe.
No.
Can you?
I've done a few front nines in the pipe.
Really?
Yeah, no, I can. Growing up, I was riding it a lot, and that's how I got to kind of use my edges on my snowboard properly. Because a good way growing up, learning to snowboard is to ride pipe and racing, because you want to learn how to do a toe side to heel side turn, like heel to toes.
So you think that helped you out a lot?
Yeah, a lot. That's why I can race. That's why I can beat Jared Hughes now, is because when I was growing up, I kind of just was into like everything. Like I just wanted to.
Yeah.
I just didn't want to ride rails. I wanted to know how to turn my snowboard properly.
Yeah. Board control.
Board control, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'll ever figure it out, but one day. Another guest question is, almost a father figure of yours, which is Pete Long.
Yeah.
Longy. Longy actually gave us 2 questions.
Okay.
The first question is, where did you get the name Pie Man? And I know I haven't actually dropped that name, that nickname in this podcast, but for everyone listening, Jye has this kind of a nickname that's it's so attached to you, it's crazy. People. I know that there are people right now that are like 13 years old that call you Pie Man.
Yeah.
And then I think everyone wants to know, why is your name Pie Man?
Well, yeah, that goes back to like when I first went to New Zealand to stay with Nug.
Yep.
And Benny Bright gave it to me because he would give me lifts home from Snowpark every afternoon, me and Scotty. And we would...
Scotty James?
Scotty James.
Yep.
Yep. And we'd go to the pie shop. We'd go straight from Snowpark to the pie shop, and I'd get a chicken and corn pie.
Every time?
Yeah, every time. And then I think me and Benny were the only ones that were getting them. I think Scotty didn't want a pie, but yeah, we'd always just go get chicken and corn pies. And then he's like, you know what? Your name should be Pie Man. And then it just kind of just stuck from there. And then, like you said, I will meet people at the bar or something, and they'll start calling me Pie Man. I'm like, how the fuck?
That's a really lame story for a nickname that's attached. I was hoping for something a little bit better.
Nah, yeah, it's not that good, but that's how it started. And then we're actually gonna start a pie business. Like, it was gonna go further than that. We're gonna like make our own pies.
You and Benny.
Me and Benny, yeah.
Taking over the world.
Yeah.
One pie at a time.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, I guess you've talked about this, but maybe you can answer it with just a numerical number.
Yep.
I don't even know if that makes sense. About 10 years ago, this is what Longy said, about 10 years ago on the come up, you had what might still be considered the best competitive season in the Southern Hemisphere, winning every event you entered, which is obviously what we've spent a lot of time talking about on this podcast. He said, how much Johnny Cash was stacked. I've never heard someone call it Johnny Cash as well.
That's a good one. I'm going to be using that one.
Yeah. All right. How much Johnny Cash was stacked? One number.
Yeah, about 36 grand.
Okay, 36 grand.
Yeah.
And then with the sponsor matching?
Maybe 40, bit more.
Cool.
That was just what I made from the competitions, yeah.
And then, like, who are you seeing at the moment in the scene that it's like, they're noteworthy? Like, they're, like, I guess for someone to catch your eye, they must be doing it right. Who are some of the riders at the moment that you're seeing kind of in Australia and New Zealand that you're a fan of?
Yeah, definitely. I am very picky with my snowboarding.
Yeah.
I like things to be done well and properly. But yeah, like Josh Vane, obviously been riding the park a lot, but that's just still the park. But he's obviously killing it in the park.
He's kind of making a little bit of a comeback, right?
Yeah, and he's a cool kid, and he's got an amazing. I'm all about style. Like if you know me, I like style, and obviously in New Zealand, I love watching Carlos and JJ.
Yeah,
Good style.
and you film with those guys quite a bit.
Yeah, filmed with them a lot. Yeah, and yeah, I just like good snowboarding. So I like watching good snowboarding, like Arthur Longo and things like that. So those guys are doing the right things, and yeah.
And for all those people listening, you know, young, middle-aged, old, still trying to get out there and enjoy it, you know, snowboarding. Do you have any like parting words of wisdom? You know, like what's your philosophy around snowboarding?
Well, like I said, I think it's the coolest shit ever.
Yeah.
There's just so many things you can do snowboarding, like from splitboarding to riding the park to just cruising around, like going to get a beer. I just think it's, the coolest thing ever. And if you're having fun doing it, just, keep doing it. And even if, trying to become a professional snowboarder or just doing it for fun, just stick with it. And yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's everything. Mate, it's been an unreal chat. I mean, so cool to get an insight into the life that is Jye Kearney. I mean, you've lived a pretty crazy life and you're only 28 years old. So, I mean, here at Transfer, and I think everyone that's listening is excited to see what you'll bring down the track. I mean, there's so much time still to go. So, yeah, thanks for your time and thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Richie. Stoked to be here.
All right, awesome. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And again, a big shout out to Hard Fizz and Burton Snowboards for their, constant support behind this series. And tune in for next week. We've got another really special guest.